Well, I am very privileged today to be joined by Dr. Melissa Sassi and her amazing daughter Zahra. And yeah, we're talking about imposter syndrome. If you didn't notice, because it's been Imposter Syndrome Awareness Day all day today, and we've heard lots of amazing things. So, Melissa, would you like to just introduce yourself and your amazing daughter, please? That would be
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, for sure. So, I'm Dr. Melissa Sassi. For those of you who know me, I wear a whole lot of hats, and I talk way too much. So, let me share a little bit about what I've got going on in the world. So, I'm the CEO and co-founder of an edtech startup called Skills Hustle, and we are democratizing access to meaningful employment and entrepreneurship. It's all about solving both the skills and confidence gaps. More to come on that. We'll talk about that later. I spent a number of years in tech, still in tech now, but I spent 3.5 years at IBM and 5 years at Microsoft. And across both of those spectrums, I managed, within my portfolio, 225 tech startups, early stage, across 75 different countries, raising more than $100 million. And it's kind of funny we're talking about imposter syndrome because you probably think like, wait a second, like CEO, founder, $100 million. What are you talking about? Why is she up here talking about imposter syndrome? Well, we're going to talk about that. Spent
Yeah,
a
we're
number of
gonna
years
we're
on
gonna
Wall
get to it.
Street, and yeah, we are. All right, so enough about me. I'd like to introduce you to my daughter, Zahra. Uh, Zahra,
I'll
I
take
could
over.
steal your thunder. You take it over from here.
Hi, I'm Zara. I'm a cybersecurity student at DeVry University, and I love this. I love to sing, so that's a little background about me.
Amazing, amazing. Well, it's lovely. It's lovely that you both took the time to join me here. I mean, I think it's an interesting one, this imposter syndrome, and the more I sort of learn about it from talking to amazing people like yourselves, the more I sort of understand that it's all about confidence, right? And the thing is that as we grow, I mean, I was doing a bit of research, and I watched a video from Jordan Peterson, who some people like, some people don't like. I kind of like the guy, but some people don't. They think he's a mass misogynist and everything else. But personally, I actually I like what he has to say. He's got a lot of important things to say. And what he said was is that everybody gets imposter syndrome, and I found that particularly interesting that he was saying that. And actually, when they get promoted or they try and do new things, then they begin to go through their imposter syndrome even more because it's like, oh, I don't know how to do this. So they automatically think that they're an imposter, right? But it's like everybody goes through that at some point in their career, probably many times. I go through it all the time. Like I hadn't done like a video on my own for literally, I don't know, for ages. And literally I sat there and I streamed live to promote this day that we're finishing up now. And it was awful. I sat there and I was like, oh no, like I've got to do this on my own. And like, I feel really bad. And like,
Who am I going to
and like,
talk to?
yeah. And I'm really bad at this. And like, and it was, yeah, it was awful. But it was like, it's like, look, and what I found interesting in this conversation with Jordan, which Jordan was having with this podcast host, he's saying, look, you've just got to do it. Like you've got to just man up, right, or woman up, and like literally just use your courage and do it, right. And you got to go through it. And it's like if you don't go through it, then you're kind of just always sitting there living in this kind of small little comfort zone world that you and you're never going to achieve anything, in my personal
Mhm.
opinion, you know.
I
So
think
what do you
you're I
think?
think you're right. Yeah. So I've been on this really crazy journey since I guess it's been since like June or July, where you know I I was feeling like a big imposter. I had my hands all around my job at IBM. I could do the stuff in my sleep, if you will. Granted, it was a hard job, but once you've been doing something for 3.5 years, you kind of got the ropes figured out, even if you've got your day-to-day challenges and that sort of thing. But one of the things that I noticed is that I was focused on enabling entrepreneurs to build, scale, thrive, all of this kind of stuff. But I was only a kind of side shimmy, side hustle founder. And I looked at it and I thought, I'm such a fraud. I am such an imposter. What am I doing enabling or playing a role in kind of influencing or teaching or enabling, inspiring, whatever word you want to use, to help these startup founders when my cushy job took care of my mortgage every month. And I didn't have to rely upon my entrepreneurial endeavors to, pay my bills. And I thought, I'm a fraud. I'm such an imposter. And you know what I did? I quit. Not my entrepreneurial endeavors. I quit my job at IBM and I decided that I'm gonna do this full time. And has it been easy? Oh my gosh, no. Am I failing or succeeding? I don't know yet. But I know that I have to do this, and I know that it was something I had to do because if I didn't, I would regret it for the rest of my life. What do you think? What do you think, Z?
Good.
What about you? What about you? Have you had any moments where you felt like an imposter?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I started experiencing imposter syndrome from a young age, and I think it's caused by an early age trauma. When I was young, I don't want to brag, but I was a really good student. I always had good grades, but it was never enough for my dad. And he kept telling me, oh, why aren't you the first of your class? Even though I was a second, and that was a big thing. But then I started having these feelings where I always doubt myself. I always bring myself down. Oh, I could be better. I could do better. What if I've done this? And it just kept bringing me down and made me feel depressed sometimes and really sad. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think we all suffer from that, and it's really interesting when you start to explore these beliefs that are in your head, and actually they begin when you're around 7 years old, and then they develop more when you're 14, and then when you're 21, these are kind of deeply rooted beliefs that are sitting there in your subconscious mind. And from lots and lots of research that I've done the past few years, I think you've got to actually sit there and spend some time talking to yourself, like not like a mad person, but like take a piece of paper, every morning, sit down and think about what you're thinking about yourself. And if you notice anything that's self-deprecating, that's, for example, you might just have some thought in your head pop up saying you're useless at this, or you're rubbish at that, or you can't do this, or whatever. And you've got to sit there and you've got to literally write it down, cross it out, and actually realize that is just something that you are thinking, that is just settled in your mind. And you need to look at it and say, well, actually, I don't agree with that. I think the opposite of this, and this is why. And you need to write down some instances where you perhaps have done amazing things. Like, for example, you might have done something amazing. Say, for example, you're learning one martial art, right? And you're a beginner at this style, but you've done some amazing stuff in another style, right? So you can literally, with confidence, turn around and say, well, okay, I might be crap at this right now, excuse my French, but I actually was really good at this, and I still have competencies and abilities in this other style, right? And this is something that I used to use. I still use that, right? Because I'm learning like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu right now, and it's absolutely brutal, and you can't kid yourself. Like when you're getting smashed, or you're getting choked or whatever, like there's literally a lot of the time there's nothing you can do, and it's like you just got to get used to being uncomfortable, and that is just amazing. Once you get used to being uncomfortable, then you begin to learn, right? And this is, yeah, I just love it. I love learning, and I'm
Well,
finding it great fun.
I think part of it is also, this thing that this ideal state that we, see ourselves in, and it's always like, here's where we are, and there's always this thing that we got to do, this thing that we got to achieve, this place we got to be, and there's never enough. And it doesn't matter whether let's say, for example, you have 10 things on your list to do, and you have this ideal place that you're going to be. You're never going to be that ideal place. So you're constantly striving for perfection, when it's super dangerous, because you're never going to be perfect. So you're constantly going to be let down because you're striving for something that's not really achievable. So I think it's really important that we, set big, lofty goals, but we recognize that, okay, fine, there were 10 things I planned to do. You know what? I did 9 of them. And sometimes good is good enough. And that's, I think, my biggest problem is I set goals for myself that are too big. And if I don't get every single one of them, number one, number 1A, number, whatever, I'm like, oh, you know what? I just took over the world, but, I forgot to bring my blue pencil. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Absolutely.
I think it's closely tied
Absolutely.
to perfectionism.
I personally feel like being a perfectionist could be a good thing. It could be a bless and a curse at the same time. It can make you improve yourself and keep working hard for a goal that you really want to achieve. But at the same time, you can start feeling like it's too much, and you're in this like little box, and you can't like do anything, and you keep pushing too hard on yourself. So you get to a point where you're like in a panic attack, or let's say an anxiety attack, or even depression. You can get really sad, and then it makes it even worse. But
Yeah.
I found that affirmations helped me a lot, daily affirmations. This is gonna sound a little funny, but I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm beautiful, I am smart, I am awesome, and I'm gonna have a great day. But
That's cool. That's really cool.
I'm just seeing Nat too, and that Nat's like,
I
my
do
hair,
that. Hey, what are you talking about? I did that earlier.
my hair and my jacket. Look at he's wearing a jacket.
Yeah.
I know he said that.
Yeah, but what's funny though is when we see other people on social media, and this is something, I didn't, your mum and I, when we grew up, we didn't have social media, right? We had fax machines that
We had
spewed
printers.
spam
We had
messages,
printers.
right? And like, it's a completely different era.
And copy
yeah?
machines.
But I think that we still compared ourselves with other people. We still looked at other people, like I grew up, but a lot of my friends their parents had huge houses, like Bentleys and all sorts of sort of posh things. And I compared myself to them, but my father, he wasn't interested in that, right? Because he was an industrialist. He was he's still around now. He's nearly 90, but he was really driven.
Your dad is cool.
He's super cool.
Class act,
He's super
man.
cool. But he was driven to build a business. He wasn't interested in all this flashy kind of stuff. His prestige was interviewing students for MIT, and he loved that, and that's what he did. And they gave him like this massive award for him helping MIT with these students from England who wanted to go there, right? But I always compared myself. He would always say to me, you need to go to the best schools and this and that. And I think the pressure that comes, it sounds very similar to what you experienced with your dad, maybe pressurizing you into over excelling. But I went the opposite direction. I didn't excel at all. I wasn't interested. But I've developed that now, right? That I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm always striving to be better than I was yesterday, like every single day. And it's like, look, people are just too soft like these days. I'm not being funny, but it's like they scream, "Oh, I've got mental health problems." I'm sorry if anyone's listening to this and you do have a mental health problem. I can understand it, but you cannot, diagnose yourself with imposter syndrome and use it as a crutch for failure. You need to, you need to literally face it head on, take some action, and sure, you're not going to be good at something when you first try and do it.
I respect that, but I think when you are in a deep depression, a medical issue,
but that's different.
You literally cannot pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like it's kind of like saying, I'm having a heart attack. If someone's having a heart attack, they cannot literally look and say, you know what, I'm going to stop having this heart attack because this heart attack sucks. So I'm going to stop it.
That's different, but that's different.
Clear. I want to make sure that no one in the audience assumes
absolutely.
That you are
but that's different though. Having a panic attack and having imposter syndrome. I'm sure that I think they could be close, couldn't they? They could be close together, but generally, I've looked at people who have it. I know you've had it, but I've heard people say that once you have it, you never get rid of it. I'm not sure about that. I think
it ebbs and flows.
I think it does.
Your situation, how you're feeling. That's right. I want to kind of jump on top of, something that you said. And I think that, again, it goes back to like, sometimes you just wake up in the morning and you're off. And that it's just not your day. That you need to just take a break from whatever it is. And for some people, it's not as easy as just saying, you know what, I'm going to take control of this. But I think for me, like my imposter syndrome, it ebbs and flows. It depends upon how I'm feeling. It depends upon whether I've slept enough. It depends upon a lot of like situational things. Some of them are internal, some of them are external. For the most part, it's external. Like I have certain triggers. I know that there are certain, situations or certain people, certain personality types that trigger me where that kind of personality just doesn't sit well with me. It might trigger me for, and it may not be imposter syndrome. It may be other things. So I think we have to spend a lot of time getting to know ourselves and recognizing when our moods, when we feel, and not only use kind of those affirmations, but just really get to know ourselves and recognize like what are the things that we can say or do, or who are the people that we trust the most that are also, kind of in our circle. But I think it's really important that we are not comparing our chapter 5 with someone else's chapter 25.
Absolutely.
It's important to take on big, wicked, challenges, but like sometimes like they're just people who are always going to be a better whatever than you. And even if they just started doing that thing and they just rock it from the beginning, okay, so what? We need to elevate and be excited for the accomplishments of others versus trying to say, wow, look what you just did. I didn't do that, so therefore I must be stupid or I must be a fraud,
I think
absolutely.
Think of it in another way too. When you see someone successful, you say like, oh, if he can do it, then I can do it too. But you just have to put the work into it and put the time and the patience as well. Also, something else I wanted to comment on like how a lot of people watch these influencers, content creators, and see how good their lives are, and be like, oh, well, why am I not living like that? Or
why am I not rich like that? Why am I not smart like that, pretty like that? Why are my clothes like that?
Yeah. But the thing that they don't realize is social media just shows you the good part of life, of their life. They're not, I mean, some people do share the lows, but most of them just show you the good, and you need to think about, oh, is that everything? Like, is that
reality?
Is that real?
Yeah.
But yeah. So be careful.
But I think it helps. I don't know, for me, and it helps me to show my vulnerable side. And I know that sometimes with certain personality types, a narcissistic person might take advantage of your vulnerabilities, and that's
Yeah.
always a risk that you kind of take when you show your vulnerabilities. But I think it's important, at least for me. Not everybody feels the same way, but for me, it's important to say, you know what, I'm feeling like this, and I don't feel so comfortable, or I'm not feeling so great today, or whatever. And being open and honest, with others and yourself, because I think sometimes, you know, what it's like when you're with someone who just feels off. And if they
Yeah.
don't tell you what's going on, we automatically have this feeling like, oh, it must be me, or what did I do? What's going? When in reality, they might just be feeling a certain way. And so I think it's really important for those of us, with our friends, with our colleagues, with our subordinates, peers, whatever, that we create safe places and spaces for people to be, kind of open and honest about what they're feeling, so that they feel comfortable saying, you know what, I feel out of my depth. I feel like, oh my gosh, am I getting fired today? Or, oh my gosh, my boss hates me. Or, oh, I think I failed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But do you think though that you've got better at dealing with it? Because it's like I noticed
Yeah.
today when I was when I was recording that video, going
Yeah.
live on that video on my
Yeah.
own, I noticed the feeling that I used to get when I used to do videos, and I felt really apprehensive about this video, right? But then I was like, well, I know why I'm feeling this. And it was almost like an internal conversation that kind of happened. Like, I know why I'm feeling this. Okay, just shut up and get on with it, right? And that's the same like in jiu-jitsu in the beginning when you first start and you roll around and someone's like kneeling on you with their knee like right on your
I get the
belly and like
snot kicked out of me
like
for sure.
like right on your solar plexus, right? And just momentarily sometimes, and you just don't know what to do. Like you feel like a rabbit with the headlights in your face, and you're completely stuck, right? But it's like as you get more used to being uncomfortable, you
Or get
find ways to
comfortable in
sort
your
of
own
breathe.
skin.
You
Well,
need to
you
love
you learn
yourself.
how to breathe. You need to learn how to breathe, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the in the beginning, like for the first
Are you talking
6
about
months,
jujitsu?
like
Are you talking about jujitsu, or are you talking about just
yeah,
in life?
yeah,
You
you
have to
need
learn
to
how to breathe.
breathe, right? But that's relevant to overcoming
Um.
imposter
Okay, hold
syndrome,
on. I'm
right?
breathing. I'm breathing.
If you breathe, if
Okay.
you breathe, if you breathe through your abdomen, right, it's going to fill your brain with feel good hormones, and you can relax a bit, right? But the thing is that there's this thing of panic. This is the thing, and that moment of panic, you're like, oh, I can't do this. Oh no, oh no. But actually, if you sat there or stood there and you just breathed and you thought about it for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, you might actually be able to do what you
Yeah.
wanted to
It's
do.
funny that you mentioned this about breathing. I forgot. I forgot about this very funny situation that happened to me in a work setting, and it's me and two guys, and it was all of us were IBMers, and one of the guys just had a bad day. And both of the guys I was with, very senior, people, been in the business for 20 plus years, and like leaders with teams responsible for millions and millions of dollars. And one of the guys, he was just pissed. He had a bad day. He was mad. And the other guy said, do you guys meditate? And the other guy, he's mad, and he's like, and he might have said some colorful words. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, all right, we're going to meditate. Do you guys feel comfortable doing some breathing exercises? And so the guy's like, you know what? I think I need that. Let's breathe. And so he did this thing where you had to like hold your breath. Like you had to hold you like you were breathing out, and then you were breathing in, and then you like held it as long as you possibly can, or you could, right? And there were some other things you had to do. I can't remember, but he then talked us through it. And then he's like, all right, at the end, I'm going to say, namaste, I love you. Again, this is like a work thing, right? And so we're all like, okay, all right, namaste, I love you. All right, fine. And so it's like me and these like 50-year-old dudes, and so then we are all holding our breath and we're looking at each other and like all of us are about to pass out. And I'm doing it with like two bros, so I'm like, oh, these guys are gonna kill themselves so they can win the breath holding competition instead of meditating. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let them win because I don't want them to die on this call because I know both of these guys, they want to win the breath holding. And just that little exercise, it was like, and then we all went namaste, and then we all said, I love you. And we hung up the phone, we hung up the call, and that was it. And afterward, one of the guys called me and he's like, have you ever done that like namaste breath holding, I love you thing before? That was the mad guy. And I was like, actually, no. He goes, you know what? I feel really good now. I'm not sad anymore. And, and this was like a real grumpy guy. He's always the one fighting
Right.
with everybody. And I swear, I can't tell you how many people I told about that story. And they're like, wait, that guy? He was holding his breath and he said, I love you. And I'm like, yeah, he told me he loved me. So breathing is good.
I think it's important, but I do think it's important. Like, I'm not being funny, but it's like,
yeah.
but it's like it's relevant to everything, right? Because it's like, if you're not breathing, then you're not getting enough oxygen. If you're breathing shallowly through the top of your lungs, you're not breathing as you were born to breathe, right? Which is through your abdomen. So it's like abdominal breathing. It might sound wacky, right? But actually, there's a lot to be said for that. And I think that it slows things down. Like, and if you can slow down the way that you're thinking about this, and you think, oh, I can't do this, maybe you can become a bit more conscious of actually what you are thinking about yourself and how to change that. And I think we all have bad days, but imposter syndrome, it sits there underneath everything, doesn't it? And it's like, I know I said I think people get over it. I think you do get over it, but then there are always these beliefs
and you
that are up and down.
tools.
But then, like Jordan Peterson was saying, it's based on new challenges that you are undertaking. So, for example, if you do a new course, Zahra, or you take on a new project, Melissa,
and she's hacking
and you've
away.
never done that before, and she's hacking you, and you're like, I don't know what to do. She's hacking me, right? Like you're not going to be able to beat her, right? She's just going to hack you. There's nothing you can do, okay? Apart from find someone else who's a better hacker than her.
So
right?
I think here's
And,
one thing that
you
I
know,
think. Here's one thing that I think. I recently, was watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, and Zara was with me. I don't know if she listened to it or not. Um, I've never cried at a podcast before. I'm not one who just like watches a podcast or listens to a podcast and cried. Have I ever done that, Zara?
No.
I listened to this amazing speaker and storyteller. His name is Nick Yaris. I'll send you a link in case you don't know who he is. He spent 22 years on death row. 22 years. And
oh, you told me about this guy. You told me, yeah.
Yeah, and he was exonerated by DNA evidence. He was the
Hello?
first, if I'm not mistaken, in Pennsylvania to get exonerated. He was, he was convicted of rape and murder, and thankfully he was able to get out. And as I was listening to this podcast, I cried, I laughed, I was happy, I was sad, I was angry. It was just this beautiful, just the way that he told the story, is real. And I just felt like I was in his shoes in a way, in some respect, not exactly, but I was listening to his situation and his story. And I felt compelled to contact him. I felt compelled. And, one of the things I said to him is, your story, I reached him, he called me, or I called him, we spoke. And we've been kind of collaborating for the last few weeks. And one of the things that I said to him is like, your story, and what happened to you resonated with me. And I'm not going to compare, my trauma to yours, because there's no comparison. And if there was, you'd win hands down, but there's not. And, one of the things that, I learned from him is, kind of how he was able to kind of stay resilient despite what was happening to him, and how he was constantly telling himself what was possible in the world. Now, he recently introduced me to someone. His name is Anthony, and he recently kind of came in as CEO of the Good News Network. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Good News Network or not, but Anthony and I have had a couple of calls over the last few weeks and have some really cool collaborations coming up. And one of the reasons why Anthony came in as an entertainment attorney in Hollywood who's produced all kinds of amazing things, he realized after he faced a health challenge that we need good news in the world and that we are constantly seeing bad things in front of our faces and hearing bad things. And, you know, not only are we telling ourselves bad things about ourselves, but we're also consuming way too many negative things in our lives. And what his mission now is to bring more good news to people. And he has all these studies, all these amazing things about the impact that just reading positive news, reading inspiring stuff, and how that can impact you, your day to day, and how you feel about yourself. And
Mm.
I just think there's something to that, that it's not just about what is that voice you have in your head, but what are you consuming every single day that's helping you to feel good, not only about yourself, but the world around you. If you're
Yeah.
constantly consuming dumpster fire stuff, like I'm in a signal group and it's enlightening, but I can only take it in doses because I feel like, oh my gosh, the world is coming to an end.
Right.
Look at our monetary system. Holy smokes, is the
Yeah.
fiat
Yeah.
currency crashing to an end? And
Mhm.
unless we take a stance to bring that kind of content into our brains and in front of us, our world's going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, but it's not. I'm sorry. I've got to interject. It's not just that. It's not just the
It's not
content
just
though.
that. It's not just that. I agree.
It's a certain amount of sunlight per day.
I agree 100%.
It's the right diet.
Exercise. I
It's
agree. Yeah.
water. It's exercise. It's peace and tranquility, and not drinking
I agree.
coffee apparently for 90 minutes to 2 hours in the morning. It's a
You
big
should
thing.
stay
I've
away
been
from my
watching.
coffee.
Wait a minute. Don't shout. I've been watching Andrew Huberman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, and he has the most amazing facts around all of these things. Sorry, tell me what you're saying
Andrew.
about.
I like coffee.
No, really. You will find the moment you stop drinking coffee immediately when you wake up in the morning, you just drink water. It makes a huge difference because your brain is actually expecting that coffee.
I'm feeling like
and
such an imposter right now. I need my coffee.
Zahra's nodding. Zahra had something to say there. What have you got to say, Zahra? What do you think about that?
I think it has to do a lot with the mindset as well. Once you program your mind to thinking positive and saying you're gonna have a good day, it's all gonna be good. Once you say that you're good enough and you keep telling that to yourself every single day, you're gonna start thinking like that. So you need to change your thoughts before doing anything else. That's the first thing you need to work on. And then I think, like you said, sports can help in the morning when you have a run or like a walk. That's a good way to start your day. And stay away from vaping, coffee, mom, specifically to
You just get on. You stop getting me.
and social.
I'm in trouble. I want my coffee.
Oh no! I started a family dispute.
Also,
And I get to say what I have. No, I'm just kidding. What were you saying, Zahra?
Sorry, Zahra.
social media can affect you in a really, really bad way. So
You have to take care of who you follow, what you consume, right, Zahra?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm on TikTok, let's say, and I'm sad, and I like this video talking about depression or like sadness or like whatever. All my algorithm on my TikTok will start showing me sad stuff, and then I'm like,
Yep.
oh my god, and I start freaking out, and then I make myself sad all of a sudden. So be careful what you're watching, what you're consuming, and
I'm laughing in some respect because you know, I for a while I had to reprogram my YouTube algorithm because all I was getting was like pedophiles
oh
and
my god,
serial killers. I don't know
Whoa.
what happened. I got stuck in a, I went to sleep. I went to sleep and I was watching like a
No.
serial killer thing and then it was like going all night long. And then all of a sudden that's all I saw. And I had to like, I was in a rabbit hole for like, I don't know how long, but thankfully I'm out of the rabbit hole.
that's why you
Thankfully,
need
you
to be
didn't commit any crimes. You
No,
have to
I
be
don't think
careful.
I have. I don't think I've committed any crimes. Not lately.
You have to be careful, though. Seriously. I just have this urge. There was this guy who did the balls of steel, which was quite funny, and he would like run after
There you
people,
go.
and then he would like jump on them, like it just literally he would like urban rodeo, I think it's called. So if you ever get depressed,
It's like a joke or it's real.
no, it was real, but it was a joke kind of thing, and it literally he would run after these people,
like that, like Jackass
and
kind
then
of thing.
yeah, like that, and he would just literally just like he'd have a cowboy hat in London, and he'd run over to these people, and then he'd just jump on their backs, and sometimes they'd throw him off and like punch him and stuff.
Like a koala.
It's hilarious, but like there's only a certain amount of that stuff.
Oh, in Texas, you get shot if you try to jump on somebody's back.
Oh yeah, and sooner or later someone's gonna do. Don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Texas.
No. Zahra and I live in Texas, so what were you gonna say, Zahra?
I saw this this story on social media. It was about this guy that was doing pranks and making people happy and laugh, obviously. But
cool.
He tried to prank this old man and he had a heart attack and he died. It was horrible. So yeah, that was
brutal. That's really bad.
Is this where I'm supposed to admit that when my grandpa, when I was a kid, he would take a nap in my bedroom sometimes when he'd visit, and once it was like around it was around the 4th of July, and I had this, you know, those big packs of firecrackers, like those black cats, and then I did it under the window, and my grandpa got really mad. He jumped up and he was cursing, and I had to hide for like a long time. I had to hide like the rest of the day.
Do you think though that has messed up your imposter syndrome and made you worse? Do you think it's affected you deeply?
No, it actually gave me. No, I got confidence.
Gave you confidence.
I got confidence. Like
see,
I can.
That's the point.
Wake up.
But that's the point. That's the point that we're trying to make here, right? Is no matter how unconfident you might feel about whatever it is that you're trying to do, you've just got to do it. And you might not be good at it in the beginning. But it's like, it's social media and a lot of the younger generations, because there are a few, they think that success is achieved immediately. There's this thing, you walk out, you go out the door, and you're going to imagine you're just going to become a millionaire immediately without doing any work. And
I got my founder story. I got my raise. No.
Yeah, but it's fueling this entire thing, right? And it's making it worse, because then people are like, well, you know, I should be really good at this. It's like, well, how many times
have you done that thing?
Like, how many times has someone kneeled on your belly and you couldn't breathe before you learned that you really needed to move fast?
I just hope nobody's going to be leaning on my belly. Like,
well, they can kneel on you as long as you haven't eaten. It's quite uncomfortable though, Mel, to be fair.
I don't know. I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to just sit there and paint my nails or something. I don't know.
The thing is, as long as you don't pull them onto you whilst they're kneeling on your belly with one knee, right in your solar plexus, then it's kind of okay.
This feels naughty. This is not that kind of talk. This feels very naughty.
It's over quickly.
Oh my god!
Does anyone have a tissue?
No, but so have you got just?
No.
I'm not sure we want to know what you've got over there with the pink light going on. But
I don't know what's going on. Where's Bunny?
I've got my daughter does the same. She does the same thing. It's great. I quite like it. It's to attract attention. You see,
right?
It's quite
positivity.
cool. Yeah. So what have you got to say then, Zahra? I'm going to ask you first. What have you got to say then to someone who's listening to this, and they're like, yeah, but I've got imposter syndrome, and it really is, it's killing me, and I can't get anywhere. And what have you got to say to that person?
Make change yourself. You need to not only think about the fails. It's okay to fail. Life is lessons. You learn from that stuff. You're not born perfect. You're not born to know everything in this world. You need to put work, and you need to put the positive energy out and be able to achieve good things in life. What was I gonna say? I give the word to you, Mom, because I need to think a little. My English is
your English is just fine, but you can take a few minutes to think. It's okay. Do you want me to say what I would say to that person?
Please.
That's
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
Okay. First off, I would say, all right, I understand, I understand that you might be, stressed and thinking that let's just say that person, is afraid to get up on a stage. Let's just imagine that's the scenario. Like we're at an event and that person's a little worried about getting on the stage, and that's, what's happening, just so we can understand what's happening around us. What I would say to that person is, are you, what are you feeling right now? And, that person might say, might express like, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I'm gonna do, as good as so and so. One of the things that I would say is, it's absolutely, normal to be, stressed and worried about, jumping up on a stage. And, everyone goes through a period of time in their lives where they feel out of their comfort zone. And, the positive thing is, like, we're talking about it, right? Like, you've taken a big step to say, wow, I'm feeling vulnerable. What are, what are you going to talk about? Like, what are you, what are you going to say? What's your topic? That topic, right? I've seen you, talk about that. That topic better than me, right? And that person's be like, well, yeah, you haven't been invited up on that stage because you don't know your stuff. You're going to get up there and you're going to do awesome. And we're going to be standing here cheering you along. And you know what? One time I got up on a stage and I had a bunch of people behind me or in front of me, and I was supposed to talk about this repository. It was a data repository. I got all my peers in front of me, my boss, and it's going exactly where you think it's going, Nat. I accidentally said suppository.
I remember
did.
this
This
story.
really happened. I'm standing up on the stage, and Zahra, I'll explain later what a suppository is. You can Google it really quick. Google it really quickly. I'm not going to
don't.
explain it live. But I said the wrong word, and it's very, very different. And I was so mortified. I was so mortified. And you know what I did? Is I laughed and I said, let's try that again. But you know what? If we all want to be honest, that data repository is absolutely a suppository. And then everybody laughed with me. And actually, my talk ended up being the best talk because it was like tongue in cheek, and I was myself and I was vulnerable, and it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel like you don't belong. It's okay to feel that way. We all feel that way sometimes, but I don't know, this stuff better than anyone, and you're going to get up on that stage and we're all going to be cheering you along. So what do you think?
That's great.
You ready?
I love it.
Just don't say
I think we can do it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Just don't say that. But I think we can do it.
I think embarrassing. Oh my God.
I literally think whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you put the time, you put the effort in, you can do it in some shape or form. You know, I mean, look, I'm nearly 47, right? I'm not going to become Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, right? Against someone who's 30 years old, 25. Like, they just trash me, right? But I can get better and better at something, and so can you. And that's what
But
I've got
again, there's
to
no point in
end.
trying to compare. Like, what is
No,
what
you
is the
can't.
point of all
You
that?
can't.
You
You
know,
have to be better than you were yesterday.
I
So
think you
thank you
just have
so
to do
much.
your best. You know, sorry, I didn't mean to
Thank,
talk over
thank,
you now.
no, don't. Yeah, do your best, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
it. But thank you so much, everyone, for attending this event. And please
thank you.
share this with your friends, and tweet us
Okay,
or
hold on.
whatever with the hashtag. And yeah, can I do that?
I
can't do
always
that.
fail. I know. I
Can I
try.
do that? Yeah.
You had to curl your.
There we go. Look, what do you
There
think?
you go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thanks.